Ever start the school year thinking, this time it'll be smooth, only to have students interrupting for bathroom breaks, forgetting supplies, and turning in crumpled papers, all before lunch? And it's not always about being stricter. It's about setting up simple, clear routines that silently run your classroom from day one. Today, I'm walking through the exact routines you need, from how students enter the room to how they leave. Welcome back to Educator University. I'm Annie. Let's get into it. The first routine is the entering the classroom routine. This focuses on each step of entering the classroom, from walking in to finding your desk to getting started on bell work. And this is an important part of the entering routine. And if you've been around here for a minute, you guys know I love talking about bell work. I have a ton of videos that I will link a couple of them here and below. But if you're not familiar with what bell work is, it is a task students do as soon as they walk into their classroom. It usually has to do with the lesson. It's pretty low stress, but high impact. Bell work is such an important part of the routine because it prepares students not only mentally but physically for class. Students are required to get their materials out, like their pencil and any papers they're going to need, as part of the bell work process. It also prepares them mentally because the question or activity you're doing is getting them primed for learning. So bell work is such an essential part of your entering routine. Entrance routines can happen multiple times in a day, especially if you have the same students all day and they are re-entering your classroom after lunch, recess, or electives. So you may have to have an entrance routine multiple times a day. And if you teach upper grades, it will look like creating an entrance routine for every single period that comes in. So let's say you have a great entrance routine set up. The next routine you want to explain to students is the bathroom routine. You want to show them if there's a pass, where it goes, where they should put it when they're done. If there's a sign out sheet, show them where it's at, how to access it. Another thing that will save you a lot of headache in the future is to clarify when students can ask to go to the bathroom. Of course, you can always clarify that in an emergency, students should always ask at any time, but there are times within your day that are better than others. There's nothing more frustrating than teaching a lesson, getting in the flow of things, and then a student raises their hand and asks to go to the bathroom. It's a little bit disheartening because you have this wonderful flow and then students asking you to go to the bathroom. So I always tell my students the best time to ask to go to the bathroom is when I am not doing direct instruction, because in my class we have a lot of time for group work and individual work. If possible, if they can wait to ask when I'm not teaching, that is the best time. Another thing you want to clarify is any school expectations. Some schools have dedicated times when students can use the bathroom and certain times when it's not allowed. Just clarifying with students those basic needs of where things are going to be and how it's going to work in your classroom. You may think this is obvious, but I guarantee you it is not, and the more you clarify these things, the more smoothly your class will run. The basic needs are now met. They've entered the classroom and they know how to use the bathroom in your class. The next routine you want to focus on is your supplies and materials routine. When you're thinking about creating this routine, think about the supplies and materials students are going to need and have access to, and how are you going to help them organize these things. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. There's so many options out there. If you're going to do communal supplies, or each student's going to have their own supplies, or you share, however you want to do it, it's really up to you. But figuring out your system and then explaining it to students, and not just explaining it, having them actually walk through it and do it. For example, maybe you're going to have a system for pencils. Explain how that works. Maybe you're not. Explain how that works. Either way, explain how things are going to work in your classroom when it comes to supplies. One great strategy for teaching students how to use supplies is to do some low risk activities with your class and have them practice using the supplies. A coloring or get to know you activity, something that incorporates, for example, them using the markers, and then having them put the markers away. You're doing this in a way that is low stakes so that when they get to more material that is academic, they already know this procedure and it's not something to add on to what they're already doing. Make sure you have a place for your important supplies that you're going to be using on a daily basis and make it easily accessible to students. For example, when I've used notebooks in classrooms, I've had a bin for the notebooks and I've had students put them in this bin with their label for their period. And when I say label, I just took a piece of paper and wrote period 1 and put it on top of this kind of storage bin and had them store their notebooks in there. So it is not going to be fancy. If you want to be fancy, you can, but it can just be practical as well. I remember I had a teacher that I worked with and he had shelving already in his classroom, and so he just used the shelving as kind of the period 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you really can use what you have or just be very minimal with what you're going to do. Just make sure that you have a designated spot and that students know where it's at. Along with creating procedures for materials and supplies, you also want to create procedures for handing in assignments. So you first want to figure out where are students going to hand in assignments. You can do this in a variety of ways, but what's worked really well for a lot of teachers is having some kind of paper tray system where you label it for each class. If you're teaching elementary or self-contained, you might have it by subjects. Or if you're teaching middle or high school, you would just label the trays with the period numbers. After creating the system that you're going to use for students to hand in papers, you need to explain it to them and then practice it together. Again, just like the materials, it's a great idea to have students do an activity and then actually turn it into the spot so they can practice that skill so that when you get more challenging things, they already know what to do. This procedure is not only important for you because it saves you so much time and hassle with paperwork, but it's also great for students to learn the responsibility of putting things in the right place. Along with handing it into the right spot, also emphasize to students that they need to have their name on it or any other information that you require. You can model this and practice this as well. All right, you're following all the great steps. What's the last procedure you need? Well, it's simply leaving class. You need a procedure on how students are going to exit your room. Do they need to put up the chairs if it's the end of the day? Are they lining up at the door, standing behind their chairs? What do you expect of students as they leave? We call this an exit routine. Your exit routine may include other routines, like putting materials away or handing in assignments. These all can be part of one routine. Just like the entrance routine, the exit routine will happen multiple times in your day. If you're teaching elementary, you'll be leaving different subjects or leaving for electives or lunch. If you're middle or high school, you're creating an exit routine for every single period. Some teachers will dismiss students by the best behaved student or by rows or tables, or some teachers will just have students stand behind their chair until the bell rings. Some teachers even conclude the class in some kind of group reflection, coming together as a big circle and talking about what they've learned. An exit routine can be as simple or complex as you make it. And those are the routines you need from when students walk into your classroom to all the way until they leave. By making sure you have routines for entering the classroom, using the restroom, accessing materials and supplies, handing in assignments, and leaving class, you are on your way to having a smooth and successful classroom this year. Let me know in the comments which one of these routines you're focusing on this school year. And if you want to dive deeper into classroom routines and procedures, check out this video where I share the routines I use to have great classroom management. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.